Okay, so this is chapter 9, Terror at Bottle Creek. Here we go. Dad was still in bed when I poured a bowl of cereal Sunday morning. I left the television on and I walked outside. Two pickup trucks were back down the launch ramp, pulling out their boats. I ran my eyes over the stalls and saw that 6 of them were already empty. I heard someone walk up behind me and turned to see Dad rubbing his eyes like he hadn't had any sleep. I guess we ought to get after it, he said. What do you want me to do? Go over to the shed. I'll meet you there with the truck. We can load that plywood and some of it and take it to Staval's. As I was crossing the yard, I saw the girls up at the house getting into Miss Staval's car for church. Both of them wore matching yellow dresses with green ribbons in their hair, like two colorful birds on a hill. Lisa waved at me, and I lifted my hand at her. We spent all morning hauling the heavy 4x8 sheets of half-inch plywood up to the house and screwing them over the windows. It was exhausting work, but I didn't mind. I felt better about everything again, with Dad there and things getting done. We took a break for lunch and ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on the houseboat. The sky was blue, and only an occasional breeze rippled the surface of the river. It was hard to imagine the storm I'd seen on the news was out there. Despite the good weather, there was a sense of urgency developing at the landing. More people were arriving to get their boats out of the stalls and the boatyard and take them away to higher ground. Everyone seemed in a hurry and not willing to stay and talk much. What do you want to do about this houseboat? I asked Dad. I'm thinking about it. We could anchor it up in one of the creeks. I'll take more than 2 of us to get this thing out upriver, he said. We gonna stay up at the Staballs until the storm's over? Yeah, I guess. We need to make sure their generator's working. Yeah, he said. And we still gotta get all our stuff off this thing and haul it up to their garage. What about the boats people haven't gotten? Dad looked at the stalls. Then he ran his eyes over the yard. Still got 2 in the slip, looking like Gant and Blake. They'll be here. Any of those boats left in the yard, they'll have to take their chances they don't get a tree on them. I don't think the water's going to get up here. Dad stuffed the last bite of his sandwich into his mouth and he stood up. Let's get on the roof and put some more nails in that sheet tin on the south side. It's going to get hit the worst. I crossed the yard again and got the nails and 2 hammers out of the shed. Dad was already putting the ladder against the roof of the stall when I returned. We climbed up and started driving extra nails along the seams of the aluminum sheets. I always liked the view of the river from here. You could hear the rush of it and see spoonbills rolling out in the center. The breeze had picked up slightly and tossed my hair about, but it was just a normal, bustly fall afternoon. At one point, I looked up to see the Carter's Suburban coming down the hill. Mr. Carter pulled into the yard and backed up to their flats boat. It was the newest and most expensive boat at the landing, a 22-foot Scout with 225 Yamaha 4-stroke. Even the boat had a custom canvas cover to protect it from the weather. It bothered me to watch it sitting out in the sun and rain. Figured he'd forget about it, Dad said. I can't remember the last time I saw him use it. I watched Jason Carter get out of the passenger side and direct his father to match their trail ball to the receiver. Like Lisa, he was in the same 8th grade class at school. In addition to having a father with a lot of money, he was the captain of the basketball team and good at just about anything else he was involved in. He was easily the most popular boy in our grade. Jason looked up and he saw me. How's it going, Court? Just trying to get ready, I said. Jason seemed to have everything, including a piece of my life at the landing. But I was okay with him until he asked Lisa to the fall dance at our school the year before. Ever since then, I'd felt a heavy bit of jealousy creep into my face when I saw him. Basketball team's off to a good start this year, he said. Too bad you can't come out with us. Maybe next year, I said. It burned me up to think that I should have asked her myself, but I didn't. I was scared it might make things weird between us, so I'd stayed home and watched Mr. Carter's Suburban pull up before her house. I saw Jason get out of the door, and she came out in a pretty dress, and they took her away like I'd never see her again. The next day I asked her if she was his girlfriend. No, she said, like it was a crazy thought. And I suddenly realized I didn't want to know any more. Jason now glanced up at the house. Lisa around? He asked. No. Tell her I'll call her, he said. I nodded at him. He could just roll into anywhere and take whatever he wanted, and there was nothing I could do about it. Mr. Carter got their boat connected, and they started to get back into their Suburban. See you at school, Jason said, after this thing blows over. Yeah, I said, see you later. Dad glanced up at the Carters as they pulled away. Maybe your mother can still pick you up from practice. I'll talk to her about it. I can't count on her. I'd get you myself, but I gotta make a living. I'm usually on the river in the afternoons. I know, I said, forget about it. That evening I heard tires crunching on the gravel road up the hill. I watched headlights coming down the riverbank. The car pulled to a stop just above me, and I saw it was Sheriff Curly Stanson, Dad's friend since grade school. He left the engine running and he stepped out with a full cheek of sunflower seeds. He spit a haul at the dirt and he studied me over the roof of the patrol car. His door chime dinged softly against the night. Court, he said. Hey, Mr. Stanson. Y'all ready for this thing? We're working on it. Where's your dad? Up the road, I guess. The sheriff frowned and he spit again. What you gonna do about this houseboat? I don't know. He said he's thinking about it. Hope you don't plan on staying on it. I think we're gonna stay up at the Stabals. The sheriff nodded consideringly. Does Tom know the governor issued a mandatory evacuation order? I told him, but he don't have to leave, right? No, but if you get in any trouble, they won't send help. You're on your own. I think he knows. Okay, well, it's my job to make sure everyone's aware of the situation. I nodded. Yeah, well, school's canceled. I guess you figured that. Yes, sir. The sheriff spit again. Okay, I'll be back around tomorrow in case anyone needs help before this mess gets started. He got back into his patrol car and he pulled away. I watched his brake lights come on uphill at the Stabals' house. I saw him get out and approach their door. I looked down at Catfish. I guess we might as well get some sleep, I said to him. I got Catfish settled into an old army blanket on the floor, and then I climbed up on top and lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the creaking of the pontoons and the clatter of the chatter of the swamp outside. It was hard to imagine that all of it would soon be wind thrashed and flooded. My gut told me we hadn't prepared enough. I hadn't hauled our stuff out, tested the generator, or even secured the houseboat. It didn't seem possible to get it all done in time.